coming on into our first match of the day. Of course, it's Sandhawk as the
Thundertalk, for example, by the way, super surprising performance. The fact that they're up there now in top 3, at least in our current standings, but not overall, you gotta give them respect. They came into the tournament. We had a lot of questions about them. We knew they were a great team, but we didn't know they were going to be doing as well as they currently are. So for Thundertalk, beautifully done.
brilliant stuff. I mean, those early hot drop scenarios, right? They are a little bit more chaotic. There is a little bit more of a window of opportunity to play the variance, right? To have the outside chance, low armor, that sort of thing can really come into play quite impactfully in those early engagements, especially when you're all dropping on that high ground mountain on the Northwest Island. And yeah, it's just not going to go Alter Ego's way this time around. They will try and push further. We spoke a lot yesterday about the bubble. We're still seeing it probably going to fall around that 80-point boundary. And of course, Alter Ego at 78, very, very close to that already. And we're still expecting that to be the case. The question is, where can everybody else go? Out of this set of 16 teams, we're expecting between 4 and 5 of them to be able to make it in through towards the top 8 of the bracket. It seemed like a fairly solid lock that 4 Thrives are going to make it on 111 points, a massive lead at the top. And then you've got a lot in the mid-80s, a couple in the mid-80s there. So if we get 5 teams out of this set of 16 into the top 8, that would be what we're expecting. So if we took the top 5 teams right now, that would be down to Weibo Gaming.
Weibo Gaming, waiting for them to obviously make their way up the standings. A talented roster up in the north side of the map currently, have to work their way down towards the south, maybe opposite of R8, IG. Maybe they get into a bit of a scrappy fight. Curious if IG will rotate down to the south towards boot camp to kind of establish that, be the edge keeper team. Most likely going to have to continue to go a bit further south, but in the meantime, keeping R8 in check off of the distance, just on the outside of Paradise. For AXTMG, another roster that I feel like has had a lot of great moments, and they have shined bright at times, but they have fallen a bit short. That's another roster that needs to step it up tremendously. After all, only 6 more games remain for them, and let's not be forgetting Falcons either, right? Falcons, a team, the crowd favorite, who came in second place in game number 2, Erangel, day number 1. I saw great promise for them, but for them only to slow down. So for Falcons on the southern portion of the map, a bit split. Hopefully they get back together because they've got APG, Gamex around them. They're going to have to fight, probably not now, but at least soon enough.
I like APG's split as well in the center. This 2-2 controlling the compound down the hill as well as that high ground scout tower. It is really powerful, but it looks like the Falcons are going to try and challenge on that south point, so potentially a bit of an upset for the APG position. I wouldn't be too surprised to see a regroup as they try and keep that one together. Nongshim rolling on in as well, trying to make their way through, and it's just going, it's going pretty well. Power had taken a lot of casualties earlier around that ruins location. Not going to be too much to do. APG do in fact regroup here as the Falcons try and get to the top of the hill. A beautiful nade though. Looks like it may be able to even the odds.
Ralph has to do something though. Like you said, even the odds. You got a flying card. That's a perfect opportunity to send some shots flying from up top, keeping Ralph's head down low. It's a perfect opportunity to push, but Top's got a nade and he's willing to throw it, and Ralph is missed. Top now full send, DPS in hand, and no mistake about it, APG also taking some hits.
Where are those shots even coming from? I think that might be from, is that from Redox down the hill? Is he still going?
I think he has to be.
I think he might be. Could be Nongshim coming in on this west side. You've also got Gamax out on this east edge. But for now, they are still all alive. It is only Redox for the Falcons. That is really nasty going for them. I mean, he's a powerful player. The guy's got some style, but against 4, against Alpha Gaming, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, it's going to be tough without question. Alpha Gaming getting some much needed points. Luckily, they get all their teammates back up into play. They had a player down on the tower just up ahead, but now they're going in to finish off the Falcons, to finish off Redox, but it's not going to be that easy. Redox putting out some tremendous damage, and he's looking to take on the full force. Meanwhile, Zyal is also down. Nade's thrown at his feet, but it's got a couple of seconds. He times it properly to push forward with the DPS, but misses the critical shots. APG take the Falcons down.
It was a nice read at the start of that one from Redox to be able to hold his nerve around the corner. He heard the pin pulled, he saw the nade come through, he knew that's not going to be a problem for me. I'm going to be pushing through anyway after my nade. He already had that advantage on the tempo. It's just unfortunate that he didn't connect with that nade too well. He didn't connect with his shotgun shells. It could have been a different story. It was a lone player on the inside, but it does mean, again, APG, Alpha Gaming, stay alive. Our next circle shift is going to go a little bit down to the south, but it does keep that northern shoreline up and into the game. However, it's very treacherous to play there. You've essentially got the hilltop over Painan and not too many other places that you're going to feel super comfortable. Maybe over towards Cave.
Fajita from Gamex, I need him to join his roster. You notice Alpha 7 might be splitting the difference in between them. That's going to leave him isolated, maybe Arthur, but I do notice that they start to take some vehicles and rotate down. Alpha 7, opposite of them, that's going to be scary because let's face it, for Gamex, they did not have a great day two. They only, out of 6 games, they managed to secure 5 points. If Alpha 7 sees Gamex, they're going to see a weaker team. They're going to want to push that and get some much needed, and in their mind, easy points. Now, granted, Gamex a phenomenal team, but Alpha 7, again, they're sharks and they want to eat it from the horse. So unfortunate, man. What did he do to you?
That was a replay of the knock that Nongshim were able to find over near the ruins, and Ida lost a player because of it. This is this engagement you were talking about. Alpha 7 went for a swim. I know it's hot here in Riyadh, but it is still quite risky to go for these swims, as Alpha 7 do manage to make landfall, and more than that, they're landing lead down towards Gamax. Find a second knock as well. An answer with a DBS at range, but there is nobody else to try and pick up the pieces here. They are not close enough by. They were not regrouped, and Gamax are going to fumble.
You have a Gamex member who's going to be on the bridge just up to the north, right? He all by himself, and Mafioso sniffs this out, and he's going to go ahead and go for a push. You can tell Alpha 7 does not respect Gamex in this situation. The way that Reba pushed up that hill, he pushed up without a care in the world. He was willing to even take a ton of damage because he felt super confident in his ability to get the win. Gamex not only getting taken down from Alpha 7, but naturally as they move up, they run into Kinetropus. Unfortunately, they also get taken down. Another bad game. Corona, the only thing he can do is try and stay alive.
I give it. Okay, he's in a pretty solid spot in terms of having not too many players nearby him, but I still only give it maybe 45 seconds.
Dang, 45.
I'm giving him 45 seconds.
Okay.
I think he's spotted. APG could be there. Okay, no, he's found some buildings.
Okay.
He's drastically extended his life expectancy.
He's got 2 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
No, he's got to. Either way, he just got to stay alive. I mean, come on, get a point. You know, Gamex struggling so much, survival stage most likely in the future, but it's still early goings. 5 more games to go, and maybe they can pull off a miracle run. After all, we kind of witnessed it just yesterday with Alter Ego's Eris performing as well as they were. Weibo getting into a bit of a scuffle. IG pushing up confidently. He is down. And intense game. Another roster coming out from the Americas region. Actually, the champions from the Americas region looking to take this entire thing. I feel like they underperformed in their performance yesterday, but today they're looking to be the top dogs.
Well, hopefully they can find more on this game. They have managed to find that first pickup. This is over on the north side, so have not crossed the river. Of course, it isn't fully guaranteed that the circle will end up on the South Island, although the majority of our teams think it may well do. Horha, one of those teams, but they're right up into the river, holding that crossing, and R8, they're knocking at the door. Unfortunately, they're not being let in. It's certainly not a friendly atmosphere in the neighborhood.
No, not at all. You wouldn't expect it to be anyways during PMWC. So for R8, where do you think they go? I mean, rotate down to the bridge. Let's see where zone shifts. So R8's actually okay for the moment. I'm surprised it didn't shift more towards the side of, obviously, the south where the majority of the teams are. But you do have to start making a decision. And if I'm R8, if I'm Weibo, if I'm IG, I do want to start getting over towards the mainland, towards the main portion of the map where the current teams are. But it's quite congested.
I'm looking at where AXTMG are right now. We saw APG were up on that high ground before. They had that massive overlook. They had to regroup up there, and that has allowed a team to move into that compound, and that is where AXTMG currently sit. So beneath a massive hill, central on that compound, a potential path in towards Painan, those rocks that sit to the north of them. I think AXTMG right now have one of the best spots in the lobby. The 2-2 split that they have, they can hold this for a little bit longer with APG being those guard dogs on the south edge.
say God dogs, but also Alpha 7 on the edge themselves, right? The edge team, they love to do this, and well, they've got Kinotrop just in front of them, and not really a lot of coverage, but at the moment they're okay. But when they do start to break in, I gotta assume Kinotrop is going to take a couple of shots. If they want to go to the left, well, you got Ida, you got APG's going to take some shots. So here it is, Kinotrop looking, eyes peeled, head on a swivel. All 4 members from Alpha 7 up ahead.
They don't want to flow out. They don't want to give this position away. You can see he's being reserved with these peaks, and rightly so. The most south point of this hold. It's difficult to get the regroup here, but it looks like they're going to bolster. Ida potentially moving in behind this push for Alpha 7, so third parties could be dangerous.
Oh, here we go. Alpha 7 moves up. Kirill stays alive miraculously. Are you kidding me? Kinotrop loses one. Tamara's down. An amazing set of circumstances. Revo may be tempting the revive, and he will fully commit to it. The fact that Alpha 7 manages to get that knock is spectacular. Carrillo the bait, Revo the shot. Kinotrop takes the opportunity to reposition.
Ida in the background, they haven't struck here. It's a little bit of lost time for them. This could have been a nice opening for them. 2 of their opposing teams in their way did go down or lose a player, have a casualty, but they're just backing off of this fight entirely.
Honestly, I don't mind it. I really don't mind it. Get away from this engagement. I think if it would have popped off a bit more, Ida would have been more aggressive, right, and getting in there and getting the cleanups. But when they noticed Alpha 7 was able to get picked up back on their feet, there wasn't a lot of damage to Kinotrop, -1 knock. They said, okay, maybe this isn't our time. Granted, it's not going to be any easier trying to go dead center, and they're sending it dead center into Gamex to the solo of Corona. They're going straight past APG. They're going in to AXTMG, but all eyes once again on this Alpha 7 Kinotrop fight. Kinotrop does not want to give up their ground. They don't have to, but Alpha 7 have to continually move forward. Squash Mafioso from the distance. Revel Carrillo being the tip of the spears to push up. This is going to be a tough fight. They already scuffled a bit. Mind you, both teams get back on their feet, all 4 of them, so it's still a 4v4.
They're going to have to get out of there. In the meantime, Ida's crash has not gone well. Ida have lost 1 at least. I think the nades are continuing to pour on through. AXTMG, they have the sideline angle from the east point of their 2-2 hold. They have the north side of the road on the compound, and they have Alpha Gaming, who have those shots down the hill towards the back approach of Ida. It's only 1 player now standing for Ida. It was a Hail Mary. They wasted their time on the south. I think the call should have been roll over Alpha 7, try and move it on in. But as it stands, they're going to have to try and snake it out. In the meantime, Nongshim, they've been slowly executing this northwestern side well. They have been moving through this ground, this terrain, and been vigilant with it. Sure, they've lost a player, but they're on 6 elims. Not too many other players are in their location as well.
Well, Thunder Talk started with our first Bloods taking down Alter Ego Ares, the team who was phenomenal yesterday, and now they run into a full, like you said, Nongshim Red Force, who have been dismantling the left side of the map. AJ from Thunder Talk, the last alive, the solo standing, trying to get any additional points that he possibly can. Again, every single point you gain is critical. They're currently sitting at 50, which I believe puts them close to the top 8, if I'm not mistaken. Doc, one of the main damage dealers, at least onto the Thunder Talk fight. He'll go ahead and relocate. AJ pretty much dead to rights and actually might take himself out in blue, maybe not wanting to give any points away.
I mean, point denial is pretty important, especially when you're facing off against teams chasing for that bubble. Fortunately for them, Nongshim Red Force, 16 points total before this match started. It's not going to be too much of an impact, you'd hope, to alter those tables towards the top 8 if you get that point sent over the other way, but it does look like AJ's just trying to survive as long as possible. Ida did manage to keep their south side of this one. This is mostly in part to Alpha Gaming rotating in onto the north side up to these rocks, but now they've got a challenge sent their way by Nongshim Red Force, who have moved in from this northwest side, and they are going to the Standing Stones.
Emery has a beautiful off angle onto Zial up ahead, but AXTMG continues to have their forces dwindled away, taken down 1 by 1. They're now down to 2. Syrax keeping his head on a swivel. Emery up ahead along with Aaron, and while Emery again through the windows, just taking down members not only in AXTMG, but also APG up ahead. Devo T wants to try and renegotiate his position, but really they're just going to stay where they currently are. The next zone is going to shift, and it's going to be quite deadly if AXTMG has to re-rotate. They don't, luckily for them, but this area on the left-hand side is getting quietly contested. You've got Noxham Red Force who have rolled in. You still have AJ from Thunder Talk who is getting into an engagement. I think he's down. He is now out. So 3 teams, Noxham Red Force, APG, EDA, as well as AXTMG, all within the same location. And APG is getting dismantled, and you also have Rebo who's currently down.
He's been knocked by a solo from Gamax. APG do go down fully as well. Ida picking up a couple of the points there. They're up to 6 elims. That was a really lovely pickup for them. They'll be now on 52 points plus whatever placements they can find. And they are still on that chase. You can see Alpha 7 on the boundary. Looks like they have managed to clear the threat. Oh, maybe not. Ooh, okay, 2 players going down for Alpha 7 to a solo from Gamax of all teams to be able to take a large chunk out of Alpha 7. But they stay alive. They have 4. They'll have to push in quickly, though.
Well, for what it's worth, you gave him 45 seconds originally, then I said 2 minutes, and then he ended up almost dismantling Alpha 7. He did his part. R8 behind a wall, taking nade after nade. Weibo's been relatively quiet this game, currently sitting at 0 eliminations, but this is the time where they start to wake up. The zones get closer and closer, and 33Z taking down 1 from R8 as they reposition. They're pushing in full steam ahead, and they might be able to take them by surprise. Order just up. Mark needs to be ready to clear the left side of this choke point. Some pre-shots. He pushes up. Pre-nade's going to be out. Actually smokes. This is going to be chaotic.
Oh, a full blind there for Marth, and he can't hold the door frame anymore. Weibo going low as well, though, and into a 1 versus 1. Ida versus 33Z around the corner, and Maxman was right. They start off slow. Weibo go down in 10th.
Weibo out. Maxman looking at his crystal ball, predicting the future. E-Arena, a roster that's very far down in the point standing. Another roster that's at 0, been opposite of intense game for quite some time, hugging the hardcover POI, now maybe forced to go out into the open. That's going to put IG as well as EA into a direct competition. Not going to be easy for them, but E-Arena, they're going to have to move. Intense game also have to go forward. Horha has taken some respite inside of the current zone, but I'm looking at AXTMG still at EDA. They look to be the strongest, at least currently, but you also can't forget about Noxham Red Force. Honestly, I think a lot of teams get a piece of the zone where they feel relatively comfortable, but yeah, the IG E-Arena fight, that's going to be a deadly one.
Alpha 7 down to 1 player in the midst of all that scrapping in Painan. Over on the northeastern side, I didn't quite catch it, but they've lost 3 players down on that south edge. Nasty stuff coming on through. I imagine that would be in Kinotrope on that eastern flank. But Painan needs to conclude now. Intense game, E-Arena. They have to try and scramble their way out over the walls and up to the hills. The Nongshan Red Force position on that northwest side looks pretty tasty right now, but they have to extricate themselves from one another to have a shot.
Well, I thought it was going to be IG and E-Arena fighting, but it's Noxham Red Force who's gatekeeping them, taking out 1 by 1 of IG, who might not even be able to get their teammate back into play. I think they do it just in the nick of time, but Red Force is going to keep their heads down. Petrino knows, look, we've got to take this E-Arena roster out, but it's not going to be easy, as Mormont firing some wonderful shots, drops 1. They start to push up, but again, once they get out of this hard cover, Red Force is going to be ready for them.
They are currently 2 players on the overlook there from the high ground. They've left Binny down to control the compound situation. Ora also lighting up the sidelines. Mormont under pressure, but he is able to weather the storm. The nade pin pulled, but has to put it back in, get that first aid going. They can't afford to lose that forward position. Turney K moves on in as well. No fear behind the tree. These locations are getting lit up now as Sleepy goes down in the back line for Ora. E-Arena weather the storm. Doc C, though, moving over the top of the hill as TZ moves in 2.
Sky, great shots, but forced to hit the ground. E-Arena keeping the pressure up. The car's on fire. Back away. You don't want to take any additional damage or, man, even go down. Joker also on the move. You can't even go too far up this hill. If you do, you're going to be isolated by Kinotrope, but watch out. Kinotrope is going to be coming up behind Horha. Horha needs to be ready for this. They can't be focused too hard on the third party. They move in, and Sleepy's down, and Kinotrope might be able to get a team wipe.
Ida are rubbing their grubby little mitts here on the south side. They might be able to steal this away, depending on the chaos on the north side. We'll see how this unfolds. E-Arena starting to collapse. Kinotrop move in, and Horha go down first. Nongshim Red Force, they have kept 3 players alive. Can they move back into a position to make it work for them? Can they move back down towards the center of this next circle? As Nongshim Red Force stay as 3, crucially.
Arena, they're in tough goings. You've got Kinotrop right behind them. You've got Nongshim Red Force in front of them. The zone shifts even further, and I believe Red Force needs to take advantage of this. They need to rotate as quickly as they can, because I believe with the elevation of the mountain, they can rotate around, and they can take some respite where Benny is currently at. Kinotrop, they're most likely down and out, and in fact, they're going to be fully eliminated, but you still got eyes on AXTMG. Ida, who's going to be in the hardcover location just down below, and Ida only has 2. Of course, AXTMG only has 1, but they can output quite a bit of damage. But back on board with Red Force. E-Arena, can they get the full finishes? Yes, they can.
And now the attention is turned. For Nongshim Red Force, they have to push back down towards this next circle, but they don't have cover. Ida have it for a little bit longer. They're lighting up these sidelines. There's a vehicle up there as well. Doxy goes forwards. He needs to make something happen here, or they will go down. On the inside, they will be pushed out, but they can survive for just that little bit longer. Nongshim Red Force, they're on the lip of that hill at the top there.
Okay, but he doesn't know, right? He doesn't know AXTMG is going to be just off to the left. Placement points for Ida so big in this moment. They want to stay alive as long as humanly possible. But Aaron's going to drop down. Doc gets active. But meanwhile, the trap is still set. AXTMG goes forward. Doc, you got to be ready for this. He sniffs it out. He clears the corner. Just a sliver of health for AXTMG. And he holds on tight. Can't get the finish, but finally does it. That's an additional point. But at the end of the day, Nongshim Red Force take game number 1.
A massive performance from Nongshim Red Force. They were quietly executing the northwestern side of that circle from the ruins area. They took that fight, they made it work, they took control, and nobody was able to challenge them there. Alpha Gaming thought they had a chance. Nongshim Red Force said, no way, we are here to play, and that is a brilliant entrance to today. I know that Neptura was saying they needed something on this day, and they have delivered here. They started on 16 points. That's going to put them up with a 13-11 game up to 29.
It's a way to start the day. Nongshim Red Force looking powerful. Other teams, though, looking a bit weak off of game 1. Falcons, Alter Ego Eris, forced to step it up in the next remaining games. But either way, for Ida, you got to give them their flowers. Second place gives them some much-needed placement points. Also in the running to break into our top 8 and move directly into the finals. The question is, can they do it? Well, we're going to have to find out. It was a great game number 1. Sandhawk never disappoints, and it especially did not disappoint for Team Red Force.
Absolutely not. They had a hell of a rotate back down south, but we are going to be rotating over to a break for the time being. We're going to put Sandhawk to bed. We'll be coming at you hot and fast with Erengel, rather, after the break.
Cybertron's future is near. Autobots, roll out! This planet reeks of weakness. Your courage reignites my spark. We'll crown a new lord of Cybertron. Roll for freedom. A victory for all sentient beings.
Yes, that's the relaxation we're talking about. Especially after leaving the madness of Sandhawk, because Neptura Nongshim Red Force came out hot too, and a team that needed to come out hot.
There's so much to like about this game. Nongshim finally. I said in the intro, I said in the pre-show, I wanted them to play a little bit louder. I did. A little bit. I wanted them to play a little bit louder. They're too quiet. It's not what we want from them. And they came out exactly how I wanted them to play. They played it so nicely. They were split over that west side, always get that wrong, over the west side, but didn't overextend, didn't do too much. They just held a little bit of their own space. Then you also see that split coming in over onto the western side, and then as the zone gets smaller, the zone actually, or the players actually end up splitting up a little bit, trying to control both sides of those zones a little bit. Really, really nice to see. 23 points going to be what they see from that, what they get from that. 13 eliminations. It's all down to that timing of the third party. It's down to the regroup timing as well. So much from them. You want it loud? I mean, you got loud. 13 eliminations out of that team. Another team actually surprising us here, Max. Not only just eSports, Kinotrope Gaming being able to put up a good performance here as well with 11 points, and then AXTMG following up the good performances there too when it comes down to Sandhawk. And remember, that is one team that kind of has an advantage, I feel like, over everybody else when it does come to Sandhawk, because they played a lot more in the region.
Yeah, that's true. They do play a lot more going into BMPS, so they had a lot more experience going into it, into PMWC. Can I go deep on AXTMG, because I got a complaint. You know what?
Oh, let's go. Yes.
AXTMG, you had such an amazing compound. Why do you send two players solo into Ida? I don't understand. If you go north and you just hold on together, because you can have two teams in that compound. You can have one south of the road, which is Ida, and one north of the road, which is going to be then AXTMG. And they decided to keep two players north of the road and send two players, okay, you guys, 2v4 Ida, which is not going to work out. So I think if they just regroup north as a four-man in that position, maybe they still don't get the win because Nongshim Red Force were just so oppressive at the end, but at least they have a high opportunity to get eliminations and maybe the win at the very end.
Okay, all right. I like that take. I see you kind of... The gears are going there, Neptura. Do you agree with that?
It's cool thinking.
Not really. I'm so sorry, Max.
Okay. Let's go.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't really agree. I didn't mind the 2-2 split either side of the road. If they knew that Ida was actually there, then yes. But at the same time, what other choice did they have? I think the only response they had was to do that 2-2 split and try and do it. Because if you force stack onto the other side of the road, you're hemmed in between APG and Ida, right? As well as all the other teams around to the east side. If you go all in and try and get rid of ETA so you can do that 2-2 split. APG are going to be looking at you. The teams on the south side are going to be looking at you. I feel like they kind of were hedging their bets and going, if it doesn't work, at least we have a duo on that north side of the road. I think that was kind of their only play if they wanted that compound. Now, we could get into a discussion of should they have gone for that compound in the first place, which that could be a discussion, but if that was the decision they were going to make, I actually don't mind it.
Wrapping my head around this. So they had to take a 2-man fight versus the entirety of IDA instead of just fully.
It wasn't the entirety. There was a duo there.
Yeah, but like it was the remnants of
because I think if you do go for the full stack, if you do try and go 4v2, you're going to get picked apart.
Because at that point, the compound, the reason why I'm saying this in the first place is because the compound is on the edge of the circle.
Yeah.
Next circle, unless you get a really bad circle shift, it is going to be tending to move away from that compound. So naturally, that's going to be forcing EDA towards the compound of AXTMG, and meaning they're going to have a great opportunity to kind of third party that push and just stop them from entering the circle this time around. So I get your point.
Yeah.
But we can just agree to disagree on this one.
Okay.
I think those are both great points, to be honest.
Thanks.
I think I like where you're going. And I think I like where you're going, too. Overall, they did end up getting a top 4 finish, which is really good for this team that needs those points. I mean, you technically don't expect them to start off super, super hot, but you do want to at least have something out of this team, right? Another team that was able to do something here is, you know what? We are going to be going to Erangel. Let's look at the top teams, and there's just absolutely no surprise that Alter Ego is going to be up there. Luckily for some of these teams, though, 4 Thrives Max. That team is not going to be here. They're currently just watching everything because they're going to be going to the grand finals.
Bro, they are. I can tell you that the spa right now. You know, they're in the pool.
They chilling.
They got their Honor device. You know, they're just watching the broadcast. Be like, puh. Easy. Okay, maybe not Ultra Ego, except Ultra Ego. Maybe that's not quite easy. But the fact that Ultra Ego here get 10 eliminations, again, as an average on that map. We mentioned it on the pre-show, right? That is a good average with placement points included. They do that in eliminations alone. Ultra Ego, if they, again, can replicate that first place, definitely on the cards for them.
I will say, though, APG not far behind with over 7 elimination average, 7.3, something like that. And if you talk about 4 Thrives having a really, really good elimination average with the 6 point something they had there, APG still not doing too bad. And I think it's even more impressive considering that we've seen far less from APG than we have from Alter Ego or 4 Thrives.
How about we talk about APG on this game?
There was one thing from APG there that we were kind of hesitant about for a split second. We saw Doc starting to scout, but it was a little bit different.
It was a regroup.
It was like it's actual scouting to facilitate the transition. It's not like actively scouting and then 1v4ing. That's completely different, okay? No, he actually goes for the rock where eventually Nongshim Red Force take control of it with Binny, and they do get himself a really good angle and then just pick up everyone else. I think even Doc went to pick up Toppy was his personal Uber to bring him back in that position. I do think they should have gone high north on the rock position to try and win it off, but I think overall, Doc is trying to play with the team a little bit more, which you can always appreciate.
I mean, it comes down to that team just being able to make sure they end up regrouping. And for everybody currently watching at home, don't forget that from July 25th to the 27th and August 1st from the 3rd, log into Summon Airdrops and collect 2025 airdrop vouchers to enterprise draws for official merchandise, smartphones, BD partner rewards, permanent in-game items, and more. Every participant is guaranteed to win. Additionally, from July 25th to the 31st, vote for your favorite airdrop partner for a chance to receive special gifts from them. Don't miss this year's airdrop carnival and unbox your surprise. And what I want to unbox now is going to be this next match because I'm excited to see who's going to be the top dog here in the first Erangel of the final day of group stages. So let's send it over to none other than John Allen, the man with the great voice and Reflections. Soldier Reflections.
Wait, what did he call me?
I don't know.
Soldier Reflections?
Soldier Reflections?
Yeah, so you get the good voice, I get Soldier Reflections. So that's okay. We take those dubs.
Hey, man, look, you can keep that all to yourself. I'm busy casting PUBG Mobile.
There you go.
Yeah, going into this game, we are going to indeed be looking at the top dogs, right? Because it was Alter Ego who had a little bit of a misstart to today, a misfire to kick things off. Alpha 7 as well. These are the two teams with all eyes on. But Falcons as well have not been able to put too much on the board. They rolled up to Alpha Gaming and they were rebuffed. We'll see if they can put more points on the board, but the opportunity to direct qualify into the finals is starting to dwindle. We had questions about this team coming into this tournament, and the answers I don't think their fans are going to like right now. it has not been an illustrious start for the Falcons.
Not at all. Not at all. And I'm actually very worried now at this point because when they played in their Group 1 on day 1, they started off with a big second place, plenty of eliminations, a tremendous game to say, okay, Falcons are here to play. They weren't the greatest on Erangels. They just weren't. And now they move into Erangel. They're already really far down. We're talking 22 points. Falcons have to pull off a hat trick over the next 5 games. They cannot afford to have another bad game. They just can't. They now have to pop off each and every game that starts here. Game number 2 on Erangel. So for Falcons, the home team, they've got to get to work.
They need those points. They need them fast. Getting 60 points on 5 matches, I don't think it's going to be doable to push up towards that 80-point boundary that we're expecting. It may just be a matter of pride for them at this stage. See if they can go again. Well, and money, to be fair, as they ladder up in those rankings. Of course, do get a little bit more moolah to be able to take home with you guaranteed, but they very likely going to be seen in the survival stages. And in the survival stages, that's going to be an interesting dynamic, right? It's going to change the lobby, I think, significantly. When you take out the top 8 teams from somewhere, all of a sudden, the forces that controlled the lobby, they've evaporated, right?
Yeah.
They've completely changed.
It's a great conversation. It truly is. Some teams might be, look at that zone. We'll talk about that in just a quick second. But, man, you know, some teams get very nervous when they see the likes of Alpha 7. Maybe they see Alter Ego Eras doing as well as they are, right? Thunder Talk. And they start to deviate, change their play style. When they're gone, like you mentioned, things start to change a bit. And, well, survival stage is going to be a lot of fun, but very stressful for those teams who are still struggling even at this stage. We look at the zone on the way to the right-hand side. APG, Thunder Talk, we know where they like to go. They like to go towards military. They might run into each other. Kindletrup on the western side bridge might decide to stay there. But early wins, though, for Power, who needs some points. You've got Red Force, who's coming off a tremendous win. They get a lot of points. They are now elevating themselves up into the top 8 potential position. They're well within that zone, could play potentially the gatekeeper role. For others, though, as we know, towards Zarki, Alpha 7, E Arena R8, they've got a relatively long rotate, but I believe they're going to hug on that north hand side of the map, maybe towards Yasnaya. So that side shouldn't be too busy. But yeah, for Naksham Red Force, Power, we got, of course, Alter Ego's Ares, who needs to recover after game number 1. I think they're set up quite nicely.
Yeah, they had a little tight drop over towards Milta very early out of the plane path. A couple of teams out there as well, Power and Gamax. And to be fair, if you're going to choose 2 teams to be right next to you when you drop, it is Power and Gamax, who are in 23rd and 24th on the table, respectively. Yeah, and they managed to get all the way up to Lipovka fairly unscathed. We saw Kindletrup as well taking up Ferry Pier away from 4 Thrives, obviously, who normally drop there. We've seen them drop there for the past 2 days. Of course, not playing today. That spot was open, and Kindletrup have been able to take up that mantle, which does mean that there's potentially different dynamics if Alpha Gaming opts to go for that West Bridge rotate instead of going directly into the zone, right? Going past Thunder Talk, which is also an option.
You say that. It's not going to be an easy one, though, is it? Thunder Talk's been putting up a wonderful fight, and I think for them, they want to prioritize this rotate onto mainland as quickly as possible. There's just no way military is going to be obviously within that next zone, so they want to try and get a move on and potentially get some distance between them and APG. For the other rosters towards Zarki, nobody's moving just yet. Relatively slow goings. R8 did disengage. They're now moving up towards the north-hand side, which could give them a pretty big advantage, in my opinion, if they can set it up properly and have the wherewithal to know, okay, we might have a couple teams rotate in towards Yasnaya. We could play gatekeeper. That could be some much-needed points going their way. I mean, after all, same kind of conversation with Naksham Red Force, R8, AXTMG. They're a little bit on that bubble, right? They've got a lot of ground to cover, and they're running out of time.
Thunder Talk being cautious on this bridge crossing, rightly so. There's nobody currently challenging them, but because of the number of parachutes that they saw heading to that northern side, they would have seen at least 3 or 4 teams heading out over towards the mainland from that Novo drop. They are being nice and cautious to get across this one. They're serpentining across the bridge. They're leaving backstops. It's nice and disciplined from Thunder Talk, and they are going to be able to carry their journey on in towards the south side of this circle, moving now to the south edge of Milta.
Weibo, pretty easy rotate for them. They're going to be just fine. Team that is at 42, still very much possible. Revo, a bit of a misjump, but that's okay. He's styling on us anyways. Again, up there towards intense game. E Arena, Thunder Talk goes over to the right-hand side, maybe closer and closer towards Gamix. But one thing about this zone, right? I mean, it's so much water, right? There's only going to be so much land that's going to be usable. It's obviously playability-wise. So, yeah, I think it's going to be quite a bit tight. I do worry maybe potentially about Falcons. I think they're just fine at the moment. But if they do decide to hang around school area, you've got Ida, who's already going to be there, most likely very early on. They're probably going to stay there for the time being. You still got IG coming onto your backside. You have, of course, E-Arena. So Falcons going to be just fine. For Kindletrup, though, I am quite excited based off of where they're currently positioned, but power is getting dangerously close.
Yeah, a lot of contest for that central location. Alter Ego moving up, potentially out of Lipovka towards Prison Hills. It looks like Rosemary may be wanting to stretch out a little bit further. Currently power hold to the south of it. Kindletrup, they're up onto the tower right now, and just trying to keep an eye out towards Nongshim, who are taking some shots over towards power as well.
He's still relatively quiet. Tense game. They're on the move. Going through Pochinki, straight into the area off to the left of Falcons. APG still on military. They will decide to finally get a move on. They're not going to go on that western bridge. They're going to take the eastern side, which honestly is good for them. They have to assume if we do take the western bridge, teams are most likely going to be rotating late through blue. That would then include Weibo, who's going to be on to just behind them. Obviously, you do not want to get sandwiched, especially when you don't know how many teams are going to be on mainland once you do decide to get back into the zone. Luckily for them, kind of same conversation that we had against Thunder Talk. Nobody is going to be gatekeeping them on the bridge, which honestly, I think is quite surprising. I think there would have been an opportunity to camp that bridge, but I know it's not necessarily the smartest thing to do at times, especially at this level, because you typically end up cannibalizing each other. But for APG, they should have a free rotate.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be unscathed on their approach. We'll see where they can go from there. Alpha 7, they did in fact go over that north side, over the north of Yasnaya, and they're looking to slide on in past Mansion, past that open area to the north of Prison, because there isn't too much contest there right now. Those fields fairly uncontested. A couple of those dips being taken up by AXTMG right now, who again find themselves fairly central in a fairly solid spot. Let's hope that they don't mismanage it this time.
I think Alpha 7's going to be heading straight for Lipovka. That's their area, and during Americas, that's where they tended to land. They gave it up this time around because it was contested, so they go up towards Zarki, where they've got free reign to get all the loot they want. But Lipovka, an area, at least on that edge, they are very comfortable, super familiar with it, and it's going to be tough for any teams to battle them on their home turf. Alter Egos, they're going to have Alpha, who's going to be the, upwards, so he's still going to be a bit separated from Alpha 7, but he should be calling this out and saying, okay, A7, they're going to be up top. Let's continue to maintain where we're currently at. And Milta is currently free, absolutely free. Thunder Talk doesn't even decide to take it either.
I mean, you don't want to be holding up in the buildings just yet, right? We talk about the idea of overcommitting to an urban environment, unless it comes with another advantage like high ground over a location or a potential rotational path that comes on through. Milta sits in a bit of a dip from the positions to the north that people are going to be taking. Out to the west. Oh my goodness. Maybe you're going to go in there now though.
Yes.
Because it is only when it commits on the side of an urban environment that you want to send in.
Look at everybody.
That is one hell of a shift. Let's go. Mad Max on the road.
Look at everybody just shifting down. So many names, so many teams. Everybody's like, oh, wait a minute. We were not prepared for this. And well, Alter Egos will take over the right-hand side. And now the gunshots start to fly. Power, by the way, does have a hovercraft. And well, Rico says, I want to try and take it out if I can. Gamix struggling so much. They're only at 6 points. They've already lost a player. But where they are currently at, maybe, just maybe, they can get a couple of shots and take down some stragglers from other rosters rotating in.
I'm looking at Weibo Gaming right now. They've taken an interesting approach to this one. They've sent all the way out on that western bridge to Sosnovka Military Island. They're currently rotating on the north side of the military base. They're going to be coming through on that bridge, so potentially a little bit of a wild card in play here. They could go for an aquatic approach to the mainland too.
Looking at Alpha 7 rotating down. Ida just next to him. R8's going to be onto the backside of Revo. That's going to be tightly contested depending on where they decide to stay. I expect Alpha 7 to hug the edge of the zone, which is what they're very, very comfortable with doing. But I agree with you, Weibo, loving it. We do have AXTMG rolling up. We got Falcons on your screen. Narvalo looking to put in a little bit of work. Henry cooking a nade, so you have to assume this fight most likely is going to be going down. You want to take out AXTG. You have have Strex, who's already going to be out of the way. Narvalo repositioning. This fight may be disengaging. Falcons might want to get out of here. AXTMG says, come back. We actually want to fight this. We're ready.
I mean, this is the scrap for the shelter area, for the hill that overlooks Milta, and access towards places like the roadblock that sits on the northwest side of Milta. So potential to get a lot from this position, but as soon as it's contested, it gets sluggish, it gets slow. And it looks like these two teams are going to divide themselves from one another and just stay at arm's length. So survival definitely at the forefront of their minds.
Something to think about in the future. Weibo, we did compliment that they were on the military side. If they do have to go up towards mainland, look at that bridge now. You've got IG, who's just next to it. You got Kinotrope as well, who's going to be at the forefront of the eastern side bridge. That's not going to be easy, and I don't think they're going to have a hovercraft, if I'm not mistaken. Team starting to settle down a bit. The Mad Max rotation, as you said it, and you called it, starting to cool off just a little. Falcons still 4-man unit, despite them running into AXTMG just a little bit earlier. You have Thundertalk, who's a bit split, but they're at the moment at least currently fine. Gamex has refused to move from their central position, and Suck is going across the bridge. He's the tip of the spear now for Weibo, and I hope he's not biting off more than he can chew, because Kinotrope is right there.
He's got that east side, right? There's a couple of those rocks that you can stay on. They're going for that scouting position, a shift out to the west, and they're going to be happy that they've now got that foothold. You're going to see the rest of Weibo now looking to regroup, spread out along that coastline. It's difficult because there are going to be players in Milta, and those angles start to get covered off on the position on the east side of the exit from the bridge from Weibo. They're going to have to try and find something. There are some options as well to the western side. Obviously, you've got the gas station just as you come out. Yep. It's pretty difficult to get in towards that, though, uncontested, especially with how ram-packed this circle is right now above them.
Well, good news for them. IG does decide to rotate in towards the northern side, Kinotrope as well. But when you do hug the edge of this this water side, you know you're going to be taking some shots, not only across the way, but as soon as you peek your head at the top, it's most likely going to get popped off. I mean, Kinotrope, great example. They've been looking to gatekeep unintentionally. They didn't know about it, but they knew there was going to be a team most likely coming across that bridge, and once they see it, it's Kinotrope who's just absolutely ready for it. IDA, however, is set up still quite nicely, and I think for them, especially R8, AXTMG, going to rotate straight into them. I think this might be a big game from IDA if the zones continue to bless them.
I'm feeling for Alpha 7 right now as well. Over on that northern side, they're having to push out into the blue. We'll see where they try and wrap around. It could be a long sweep out to the west and push in behind Intense Game. We'll have to see, because they've just actually disappeared north from our map feed. And of course, you guys can check out the map feed over on the YouTube channel. Make sure you're checking that one out to make sure you're up to date, seeing where everyone's going at all times. Alpha Gaming losing Doc, though. That's in a fairly pivotal position. That's over in Milta, as Thundertalk are going to look to push across.
Yeah, Thundertalk getting active. Good to see that from them. They've obviously been a very talented roster towards the top echelon when it comes to this group. Anyways, at 50 points, a very realistic option and chance for them to break into top 8. Squashes down to the zone. Mafioso takes down Ralph from Falcons as they do get active. We talked about them having to rotate far up north. Taking down Falcons here would be big for them. Obviously, Alpha 7 still wants to be the champions once again. Taking down the home team this early on, stopping them and stopping their chances essentially after game 2 for top 8 would be massive.
This is so nasty for Falcons. They managed to get that first knock. They do a lot of damage, but now Redox is isolated. Novalo's isolated. Koa's out in the middle of nowhere comparatively. He's over the road, back where we saw them before, up towards that hillside. And they're taking these slow 1v1s. Alpha 7 committing to a single engagement is what has turned the tides here. Sure, they've lost Squash, but they are now descending, and they've got 2 players in. Novalo, surely there's no chance as Mafioso descends. It's Carrillo who draws first blood, Revo who puts him down, and Redox turns his tail and runs.
Yeah, he's gone. He's out. He's going to go ahead and join his teammate just off to the left-hand side and try and lock down this house. If Falcons now pushes into where Redox as well as his teammate is currently at, it's not going to be an easy rotate for them. I am sure of it. We have another zone shift. Weibo once again has to relocate and go to the north, but this time it's going to be the most difficult rotation they have had yet because Kennetrop already had them on the radar. APG was also looking directly at them. And now I'm glad to see R8 on the screen because they were just like Alpha 7 earlier, rotated way north through shelter, came back down, and now they look to challenge Alpha 7. But it's not a real challenge. You can't break into that hardcover POI unless you crash in, and that's almost a death sentence. So I think for them, yeah, they're going to go ahead and rotate and find a better option.
The good thing for R8 is they don't necessarily need to crash. Alpha 7 need to leave. Not necessarily immediately, but they can send on in. Oh, but they want to crash anyway. They're sending on through. Looks like Prestige. Oh, he's got himself an AWM there. We'll be able to hunt some heads, I hope, in the coming moments. But they're coming up against Nongshim Red Force, who of course won that Sandhawk. They're coming off fresh from a chicken dinner.
But I am happier with this crash as opposed to what maybe they were thinking about with Alpha 7. Alpha 7, though, still could play an impact from a distance as they do have that high ground. So you're in the shed, through the doorways, you overexpose yourself, you take a lot of damage, and that only helps Nongshim Red Force in this scenario. Rosemary opposite of King, and he's dipping. Question is, can he get away, and can Moana help him from a distance?
He's got that cover around the sidelines there. I think Moana's going to be able to hold his nerve. That buggy eating a lot of the damage from behind. The spray downs there, and Thunder Talk pulled up quite a lot, and they will be slow now as the circle puts pressure on. Are they going to chase, or are they going to try and keep things together and go for a different approach? Meanwhile, Alter Ego trying to push over towards AXTMG as they disengage from Thunder Talk. They put themselves into another sightline, and it will be on this top side of the hill. The nade in from Krypton, but no one's going down just yet.
They've got to make a decision. If you're Alter Egos, you've got AXTMG to your north, you've got Thunder Talk to your south, you've got to crash in on one, and it looks like it's going to be AXTMG. If you can disengage from this, you just got to full send it directly into the middle of the zone. Depot T cannot take down Rosemary. Mind you, update, we do lose intense game. Our first team, by the way, with how chaotic these zones have been, I am surprised we are just now losing only one team. Back on board with Henry up close. He goes down. Alter Egos need this win. They need to recover from the rough game number one that they have, and they're doing exactly that in sensational style.
They slipped the pin, and Alter Ego managed to get around to the other side of AXTMG. With Rosemary down, another as well, down on bended knee. They'll need to try and pick it up, and of course they can. It's Alter Ego. But can they get Rosemary back in time? Because Thunder Talk are following in their footsteps.
Thunder Talk, like you said, right behind them. They were going to pincer in Alter Egos when they were opposite of AXTMG. But now Alter Egos can put their full focus on the Jing as well as the entirety of Thunder Talk. Taking them down would then control. They would monopolize the entire northern side of the current zone, which would be massive for them. But this isn't going to be an easy fight. Nades are already coming out. Thunder Talk is taking the first shots. Krypton takes a bit of damage. You got vehicles to disengage, but Thunder Talk really can't go anywhere. They are forced to fight.
4 players still alive though, which means that they do have a shot here into this engagement. Alter Ego looking to keep this pressure up. Are Ida going to try and chime in? I don't think they're going to want to leave their position right now.
No.
A little bit closer down towards Milta. Next circle is going to come on through, and it goes a lot more central, so Ida definitely not wanting to flex out at this stage. Gamax very happy. I'm looking at E-Arena as well in the middle of this one, having a good time. I think Power, they'll be able to survive. I'm not expecting them to be able to get up towards these hills. But then again, and this is going to sound mean, it's Gamax in their way, so it might be a little bit easier.
Might be a little bit easier, right? And Gamax hasn't moved, by the way. That's been one of their things that's hurt them so much, is their inability to make a conscious decision of, this is what we need to do. Let's make an effort. Let's push up. But granted, I will say they've been center zone. Where they're currently at and how they're playing is not bad according to how the zone currently looks, because theoretically everybody's going to have to rotate into them in the center. So maybe they could pick up more eliminations in the future. But right now at 6 points, you got to think teams are most likely going to bully them and push in. For Thunder Talk, AE, they have to push out, and Alpha 7 is also skirting around relatively close to their vicinity, and once again, Alter Egos might be getting pincered, but this time between Thunder Talk and Alpha 7, so taking down Thunder Talk now is imperative.
It's not a full threat from Alpha 7 though. Only a few of them moving in, and that's going to allow Krypton to be unleashed, and Thunder Talk, they have no chance. This guy is insane on a swivel, finding one, finding two, the rest of the team with a volley of fire, and the E-limbs just keep coming. Alter Ego now up to 7. That first game, forget about it. Eyes on Erangel.
And you know what? That's impressive and going to be a massive talking point going into the final stages, because Alter Egos, they can take a bad game and a terrible loss and then turn it around the very next games, which shows composure, shows tenacity, and shows their ability to keep their head in the game despite potentially going through struggles. That's how you become a champion, and I'm calling it early. Alter Egos might very well be in the top 3 running. We look at E-Arena now, Alpha 7. We haven't seen Alpha 7 get active for just a little bit. The last time was against Falcons. This time we've got an opportunity against E-Arena, and Alpha 7 should win this with the utility being thrown and the early damage being affected. Joe